So, it's been almost 3 months since version 2.3 released, and aside from some remeshes, we haven't gotten much. I think it's fair I do another speculation video, since I did the last one after the Metro update. So let's look once again at what's next for SCR. First, let's quickly recap what has happened since version 2.3. Aside from bug fixes, we've received a remesh of the 168 and the Electro Stars. Can I just say, the remeshes of the Electro Stars are completely unnecessary. Yes, the trains are slightly outdated, but there's many other trains that need remeshes, and that's a nice segue into the first thing SCR can do in the future. Train remeshes. While SCR's fleet is largely up to date now, there's still several models that are lacking in some way and need a remesh. Those being the Class 332 and 333, Class 720, 730, Class 380 and probably several others I forgot to mention here because there's just so many. The Electro Stars recently got remeshed, but I feel like these remeshes are completely pointless aside from the addition of a double Class 377 on Connect. The Electro Stars already look decent enough, and there's other trains that need remeshes far more urgently, like the aforementioned fishbowls. I like the fishbowls, but they definitely need to be remeshed. The Pacer door bug has also reappeared as of version 2.3.3, which either indicates that the codebase of SCR is slowly crumbling, or that they just keep forgetting the Pacer in testing. Speaking of this game's age, SCR is reaching 9 years of age later this year, and in less than a month it will be 8 years since the game's last major code rewrite. I do believe Bantech and the rest of the SCR dev team have definitely made the code of SCR as bulletproof as possible, however that was in 2018. Every game will slowly crumble after almost a decade of constant updates, especially on Roblox. Another rewrite in the background will definitely be necessary in the near future, and it could help mitigate issues with, for example, the Pacer doors. Now, I don't know the root cause of the Pacer door issue, but it could also just be a random script that has been forgotten in the background messing with the doors. Going through the files and doing some cleanup and optimizing for 2.4 will do wonders for the game, both in terms of bug fixes and performance. It's amazing how this game has lasted for so long without any issues. Think about it. When version 1.0 came out, Meep City and Jailbreak were dominating the platform. Trump wasn't even halfway through his first term, the world was at a relative peace, I wasn't stuck texting a girl I am hopelessly in love with, there was no COVID, and your boy here still had his old Roblox account. Oh, and how dare I forget, the old Samsung flip phone I used to have for school. Good times. Back to the point. Another necessity for getting the player base excited is obviously expanding the map. So, where can SCR expand? This is another issue that is primarily being exacerbated by technical difficulties. SCR can still only really expand the map inwards, so here's what that means for the individual operators. For Waterline, we probably won't be seeing any extensions. Waterline is very much a complete-ish operator, and while I'd like to see another branch in the area past Whitney Green, branching off from Morganstown Docks, I feel like this is pretty much a complete operator in its current state. Airlink and Express are much the same. Airlink could introduce a potential 4th terminal or start stopping at Hampton Hargate on R057, and that's about it. Express would likely just follow Connect on a new branch, while skipping stations. On to the second most exciting operator in this area, and that is Connect. Lines are possible mostly down the main line, as the network around Stepford is mostly developed. There are good branching points between Leighton City and Edgemead, although this would turn the area into even more of a mess, Water Newton and Rocket Parade, and Millcastle and West Wyvern. Personally, I think the most likely extension would be a new branch off from Millcastle and West Wyvern with a triangle junction, calling it 2 or 3 new stations, with routes from Stepford Central, Leighton City and Limb by the Sea. And finally, the operator that still has the most route options, Metro. Here I really see 3 different route options. First of all, the obvious one, the Stepford Loop. There's still space for it, and it's a highly anticipated line. The second possible extension to Metro would be a tramlink extension branching off the loop. Basically, you have the Stepford loop, and then you have a suburban tram line in there. Maybe it could even go past 4 ways on the street above it, although the platform layout could be confusing. And finally, the third line, something similar to Wharton Plaza and including the line of trees. My idea for this line would essentially be a new line branching off but for 4 ways in Stepford East, onto a new set of platforms at said station and then going north. It would go past the plaza, which would include 3 bi-directional platforms. Some routes would terminate here, and some would go to the Willowfield line via the line of trees. There could also be one route from Willowfield to the plaza. Out of these extensions, I still think the Stepford loop is the most likely, even though it is unlikely, because all of the possible extensions I've listed are relatively unlikely. In reality, this makes the Stepford loop the least unlikely of these options. Metro already struggles with saturating its services outside of the Noob line. Any new line, including the Stepford loop, would likely feature a relatively massive service drop-off. Unless SCR can further increase player counts, which, let's face it, it would only introduce mainline traffic, Metro will be deserted if it receives too many expansions. There are already many borderline abandoned branches such as Whitefield, Esterfield and Rayleigh Bay. I challenge you to spawn as a passenger at Carnley Bridge or Rosedale Village and find a train. The Barton Loop and especially Coxley Newtown also used to be pretty much deserted until R130, R030 and R131 got rerouted to that line. The low saturation of operators such as Metro and Waterline brings us to the next part as well, which is optimization. So how can we increase the player count? By optimizing. It's going to be tough as there's not that many areas left to optimize, but SCR needs to get back to the forefront of optimized trains. Meshed rails, reducing part counts, optimizing and rewriting code. I remember a time when SCR used to be the peak of Roblox train games. Now it's BR. SCR needs to get back into the league with the innovation. It may not matter from a visual standpoint, but from a gameplay standpoint, think about it. If all of the suburbanite housing in Hampton Hargate was more optimized, and we had meshed rails and optimized signaling code, you could spawn in at Hampton Hargate on mobile and not immediately die of lag or of an explosion from your phone. You could drive through Stepford East without worrying about the game shutting down. The sudden stutters would disappear. It may sound impossible, but it's not impossible. SCR can, with enough work, optimize large parts of the map. SCR has 7 product developers, and several users who left but still pop in, such as Frosted Plasma, and most importantly Bantech. Getting these people together and focused on a single issue will yield results, and SCR should just do it. We need a better game. They can deliver a better game. Just please, keep Toby out of the design meetings. Give him a little nose candy dungeon and call it a day. The future of SCR looks relatively bright, but again, that's only if the developers actually do develop the game further. It needs to be optimized, it needs to innovate, and it needs to stay competitive in the market. BR recently overtaken player counts, and while SCR isn't going to die anytime soon, it should actively fight to stay at the top of the Roblox train game niche. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Special thanks to my channel members whose names you can see on screen. Like, subscribe, join the Discord, and become a member to receive 24 hours of early video access and the occasional sneak peek in the Discord. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.